We got some fresh Dolphins cut candidates on today's show. Final preseason game for the Fins is this Friday evening against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I want to look at 5 players that could be on the chopping block. This is Dolphins Today by Chat Sports. I am Nic Rohloff. And before we dive into some of these cut candidates, make sure you are following me over on Twitter because I'm tweeting about the Dolphins on a daily basis, whether it be highlights from practice or the games, news, rumors. And when the Dolphins roster does get trimmed down in a week, we will make sure you are covered, and you will find the full roster over on my Twitter. Looking to get to 2K followers on Twitter/X relatively soon. At Nic_Rohloff is the handle. Go give me a follow. All right, the first cut candidate is quite the surprising player here. It's Braxton Berrios, the wide receiver, and I have been someone who has openly said that I thought Berrios was a lock to make this roster the entire time. And I don't know if that's the case anymore. I think he ultimately does make the team, but he hasn't instilled a lot of confidence in me, or I believe the coaching staff, or the organization as a whole. And he's lucky that there's been so many injuries to the Miami Dolphins wide receiver core, because if this was a fully healthy crew, I think Berrios would be on the outs. Hill, Waddle, OBJ, Malik Washington, to me, are the locks of locks of locks. But River Craycraft has had such a good camp, and then he got hurt, and he's going to likely miss regular season time. So that opens up a spot on the roster, as Craycraft is likely going to open up on IR for this Dolphins team. And then that's where Braxton Berrios and Eric Ezukama comes into play here. But either way, he has not played good whatsoever, and that drop against the Commanders was just so bad. I have been very critical of Mike White and Skylar Thompson, but Skylar Thompson made a really good play in the first half of that game last Saturday, where he scrambled out to his right, bought time for his wide receivers to be open, fired a 20-yard pass to the end zone, and it goes right into Berrios' chest, and then falls to the ground. Yes, did the defender maybe get a fingernail on it, or at least block Berrios' vision a smidge? Yes, it does not matter, though. If you're an NFL wide receiver who wants to be on an NFL roster and get playing time outside of special teams, you are going to have to make catches like that. It was too easy of a ball to drop. I was disappointed in Berrios' preseason debut. He has not really flashed in camp either, and I'm telling you, I think he could still get cut, but it's likely that he'll be on this team because of all of the injuries that the Dolphins have sustained. You predict it, though, for me down in the comment section. Will Braxton Berrios be on the final 53-man roster a week from today? Type Y for yes or type N for no. Jack Driscoll is another cut candidate, and this one's hard for me to really bring up here because I have been very open in my belief that he could be the starting right guard for this team. But when you start to play the numbers game for the Miami Dolphins offensive line, it really feels like it's a 2-man race for the final roster spot amongst that interior offensive line. It's Lester Cotton versus Jack Driscoll, and none of them have really done anything too special to make me have a full, clear direction going into this final preseason game. Driscoll has certainly played more in the preseason, having better PFF grades as well. Cotton did have a really good game this past Saturday in the pass blocking department. But the way I'm viewing it here, and even though you or I or all of us might think Jack Driscoll's the better offensive lineman, the fact of the matter is that when Mike McDaniel rolled out the starting offensive line and the starters to block for Tua Tagovailoa last weekend against the Commanders, Lester Cotton was your starting right guard. Robert Jones was left guard, Eichenberg center, Cotton right guard, with Kendall Lamb at left tackle, and then Austin Jackson at right tackle. So clearly, I believe, at least to this point, Mike McDaniel believes Lester Cotton is a better option than Jack Driscoll. And if that's how he believes right now, you better bet that Jack Driscoll is definitely on the roster bubble heading into the final week. I don't know if he's going to be able to overtake Cotton, or maybe Isaiah Wynn starts on the IR and both of them make it, but definitely have my eye on Jack Driscoll potentially being someone left off the Dolphins 53-man roster when it's announced next Tuesday. And make sure you are subscribed to the channel, because next Tuesday we will have full in-depth breakdown and analysis of the Dolphins 53-man roster. We'll have it all. Make sure those notifications are turned on too, so when we drop that video, you don't miss a beat. All right, Channing Tindall has always been on our cut candidate list. He's never left it, and unfortunately, he's still not going to leave the top 5 list. It's unfortunate because I think Tindall has actually had probably his strongest preseason and strongest training camp performance out of the first 3 years that he's been a Miami Dolphin. There just simply isn't enough room in this linebacker depth chart to keep Channing Tindall because I don't think Miami's keeping more than 5 interior linebackers. And David Long Jr., Jordan Brooks, and Anthony Walker Jr. are locks, and I've long said that it's going to be Tindall versus Duke Riley, but I believe Riley has been able to kind of stave off Channing Tindall. Even though he's had a good first 2 preseason games, man. He had 7 tackles in the first game, 4 tackles in the second, had a sack in the first preseason game against Atlanta, followed up with another sack in week 2 against Washington. Channing Tindall has done enough to make it at least interesting going into the roster cutdown day on Tuesday, but he just started so far behind the 8 ball that it really feels like it's Duke Riley is going to be that last special teams guy and last inside linebacker to complement the room of David Long Jr., Anthony Walker Jr., and then obviously Jordan Brooks. All right, before we get to my final 2 cut candidates here for Miami, we are sponsored by Game Time, the best way to get your tickets, whether you're going to a comedy show, a concert, or a Miami Dolphins football game. You can view your seat, get a full panoramic view of where you would be sitting in any venue, whether it is a concert. They'll show you exactly where the stage is going to be and how your exact performer is going to be set up. They show you your exact seat in a football stadium, baseball stadium, NBA arena. It does not matter. And you can get the lowest price guaranteed as well with Game Time. If you happen to find a seat and ticket price in the same exact seat, in the same exact section, same exact row that is cheaper, Game Time will actually credit you 110% of the difference. They make it the easiest way for you to get your tickets and make sure you get them at the lowest price guaranteed. So download the app today. Use code CHATSPORTS to get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, but again, code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS, to get $20 off your first purchase. Game Time. Best way to get your tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, let's move over to Siran Neal, the cornerback for the Miami Dolphins. And listen, it's tough. There's going to be some really tough cut downs in that cornerback room. I've always said that I think the running back room is the best depth piece on this team. Like if you just look top to bottom, I think the top 3 is running back, cornerback, and wide receiver. But I think cornerback, at least to this point, is the top 1 because this room is just absolutely loaded. You have a really good starting 3 in Jalen Ramsey, Kendall Fuller, and Kader Kohu as your nickel. But then just look at that depth, man. Nik Needham, Ethan Bonner, Siran Neal, Cam Smith, and then you have 2 UDFAs and Isaiah Johnson out of Syracuse and Storm Duck out of Louisville have been playing so well in the 2 preseason games. Like, think about this. If you have your starting 3 guys in Kohu, Fuller, Ramsey, you're likely only going to keep 6 corners, which means these 6 guys, 2 or 3 of them are going to get cut. And even if you keep 7 corners, which would be very, very kind of, I wouldn't say wild, but it would be large for the Dolphins to keep 7 corners due to some other positions needing a bigger room, that means still 2 of them are getting cut. Like, it is just going to be a bloodbath on the cornerback room. You have such good talent there. It's going to be unfortunate to see Storm Duck potentially get cut. He's been performing very well as a UDFA. It's going to be tough to see Isaiah Johnson potentially get cut. You hope the 2 of them can land on the practice squad, but with how well both of them have been playing in practice and in the preseason games, it's likely that another team's going to scoop them up and potentially add them to their 53-man roster. One more Dolphins cut candidate to get to here on the episode, but name one that you think could happen, whether it be Berrios, whether it be Channing Tindall. Does not matter. Let me know who your Dolphins cut candidate is. Oh, this one hurts. This one hurts, man. It does. Jody Fortson Jr. is on the list, and it just feels bad to say this. It does. You know, if you've watched the channel, it's my sweet prince, man. It is. My sweet princess, doesn't matter. Jody Fortson Jr., he was someone that I really thought was going to make this team. I went on the limb and said before our training camp began for Miami that he was going to make the team. I did. I put my name out there and was just like, I think he's going to perform because he was so good. Like, he was the best tight end Miami had in OTAs and mandatory minicamp. But ultimately, not played good enough. Got hurt in the first preseason game against Atlanta. Missed week 2 against Washington. We'll always have that minicamp performance, though. We will. I mean, we will always have. You'll always remember. Cullen knows. Cullen, the producer today, was like, I can't believe that he's going to get cut and you put him on there. Like, what about minicamp? And I was like, yeah, I know, man. It just stinks. It was unfortunate that he's not going to make it. Just like when you think of it, though, in a serious matter, though, Julian Hill's been really good. Jonnu Smith looks like a dynamic weapon. And then Durham Smythe also looks like he is going to be in the mix as well. The Dolphins have 3 really strong tight ends. They'll stick with a 3-man group, in my opinion. It's a really improved group, too. I think Mike McDaniel is really going to utilize the tight ends this year rather than how he has the past couple years. All right, that's going to do it for this episode of Miami Dolphins Today. Make sure you are following me on Twitter. I'm talking about the Dolphins on a daily basis. And if you want more coverage, follow me on Twitter at Nic_Rohloff is the handle. Hopefully I see you over there.